Yesterday, the city laughed. They laughed at a girl standing in the mud, holding a broken basket, pretending not to feel small. Yesterday, humiliation passed through the streets. Like entertainment. Shared. Liked. Forgotten. But humiliation never ends when the laughter stops. It waits. It grows teeth. And it comes back the next morning. With paperwork, rules, and official voices. Because when the powerful realize that shame alone is not enough, they don't embarrass you again. They erase you. Morning came quietly. Too quietly. Amma woke up before her brother. Not because she felt strong, but because fear had replaced sleep. Her body still ached from the previous day. Her dress, washed and hung overnight, still smelled faintly of mud no water could remove. She sat on the edge of the mattress and stared at the floor. For a moment, she considered staying home. Just for one day. But hunger didn't understand shame. So she stood up. She prepared what little food she could afford. Not as much as usual. She no longer had the courage to risk more. Her brother watched silently. "Are you going back there?" he asked. Amma nodded. "Just for a few hours," she said. "We need today." Outside, the street looked the same. But it wasn't. People avoided her eyes. Some pretended not to see her. Others stared too long. Amma walked to her usual spot. She stopped. Something was wrong. Two men stood there. Not security this time. They wore clean uniforms, held clipboards, and spoke with the calm authority of people who would not be questioned. "Are you Amma?" one of them asked. She nodded slowly. "Yes." He held up a paper. "By order of the local council," he said. "Street vending is prohibited in this area effective immediately." Amma read the paper. Her name was not written. But she knew it was for her. "I didn't break any rules," she said quietly. "I've been selling here for years." The man shrugged. "Complaints were filed." "By who?" Amma asked. "That information isn't available," he replied. They stepped closer. "Please remove your items." Amma clutched her basket instinctively. "This is all I have," she said. "I didn't do anything wrong." The second man sighed. "We're not here to argue." He reached for the basket. Amma pulled it back. For a second, everyone froze. The street held its breath. Then the man took it from her hands. Just like that. Ingredients. Utensils. The small pouch of coins tied at the side. Gone. Amma stood there empty-handed. People watched. No one spoke. No one helped. The men walked away with her basket. As if it were evidence of a crime. Amma did not follow. She couldn't. Her legs felt hollow. She looked at the space where her basket had been. The place she had stood for years. And understood something painful. This was no longer about where she sold. This was about whether she was allowed to exist there at all. She turned slowly. And walked home. The first blow had landed. And it had landed clean. Amma thought losing her basket was the worst part. She was wrong. The basket was only her livelihood. Her name was her life. That afternoon, she stayed inside. Not because she wanted to hide. But because there was nowhere to go. Her hands felt empty without the weight of the basket. Her body moved as if it were still there. Reaching for things that no longer existed. Outside, voices traveled easily. They always did. Amma heard them through thin walls. Through open doors. Through the silence people thought she couldn't hear. She caused trouble. That's why they banned her. I heard her food made people sick. The words slid into the room. And settled on the floor like dust. Amma told herself not to listen. But names have power. And once a name is damaged, people stop asking questions. The next morning, Amma walked to the water tap. She kept her eyes down. Hoping to finish quickly. A woman she had known for years stood nearby. They had shared food once. Laughed once. Now, the woman shifted her bucket away. "Is it true?" she asked suddenly. Amma looked up. "Is what true?" Amma replied. "That you were reported The woman said. That you sell spoiled food? Amma shook her head slowly. No, she said. I've never. The woman interrupted. I'm just saying what people are saying. She picked up her bucket and walked away. Amma stood alone. The tap kept running. Water spilled onto the ground and disappeared into the dirt. At school, it was worse. Amma's brother came home early again. He didn't cry. That frightened her more. They don't want to sit near me, he said quietly. They say my sister is trouble. Amma felt something cold spread through her chest. Children did not invent cruelty. They repeated it. That afternoon, Amma tried to borrow money. Just enough to buy food for dinner. She knocked on a door she had knocked on many times before. The woman inside opened it slightly, her body blocking the entrance. I'm sorry, she said quickly. I can't help right now. Amma nodded. I understand, she replied. The door closed. Another door. Another excuse. Another silence. Amma realized something painful. People were not afraid of her poverty. They were afraid of being associated with her. Because shame, once assigned, was contagious. By evening, the rumors had grown teeth. Someone said Amma had stolen money before. Someone else said she had threatened residents. No one asked her. No one came to hear her side. Her name moved through the neighborhood. Without her permission. Twisted. Bent. Stripped of context. That night, Amma sat beside her brother. They ate quietly. The food tasted like nothing. Why do they hate you? He asked. Amma searched for an answer. I don't think they hate me, she said slowly. I think they're afraid. Of what? He asked. Amma didn't answer. Because the truth was harder. They were afraid of standing next to someone the powerful had decided to remove. Later, Amma lay awake, listening to the street outside. She understood now. The attack was no longer physical. No more mud. No more laughter. This was cleaner. Quieter. More effective. If they could not push her away with force, they would poison the space around her. Until she had nowhere left to stand. Amma closed her eyes. For the first time, she wondered if silence was safer. And somewhere behind tall walls, someone smiled. Because the second blow had landed exactly where it was meant to. On her name. Behind the walls, life continued untouched. The streets were quiet. The houses were clean. The air smelled like comfort. The woman sat in a wide living room. Light pouring through tall windows. Her phone resting loosely in her hand. On the screen, Amma's face appeared. Not from the video of the splash. From something else. A post. A complaint. A report. Street vendor causes disturbance in residential area. The woman scrolled slowly. Her expression unreadable. Still there? She asked calmly. A voice answered from the other end. Yes. The woman sighed, annoyed. She's stubborn. She stood and walked toward the window, looking out at a garden that had never known hunger. I don't like stubborn people, she said. They forget how the world works. She tapped her phone once. File another report, she continued. Use a different name this time. A pause. Yes, she said. Make it about hygiene. She ended the call. To her, this was not violence. Violence was loud. Messy. This was administration. Paperwork. Signatures. Authority wearing polite clothes. She returned to her chair and opened another message. A group chat. Names Amma did not know. Security. Local council staff. A neighborhood committee. People are complaining again, she typed. She's attracting attention. A reply appeared almost instantly. We'll handle it. The woman smiled faintly. She leaned back. In her world, problems were not solved with fists. They were solved with systems. She remembered the splash. Not the mud. The embarrassment. The laughter in the car had faded quickly. But the feeling of being seen, of being recorded, had not. That was unforgivable. She didn't hate Amma. Hate required effort. She simply refused to be reminded that someone like Amma could exist so close to her comfort. She should have disappeared quietly. The woman muttered. Her phone buzzed again. Her neighbors are distancing themselves. The message read, "The rumor is working." Good, the woman replied. She placed the phone down and reached for a glass of water. Outside, birds sang. Inside, everything was still. Far away, Amma sat in a dark room, counting coins that were no longer enough. She did not know her name was being passed around like a file. She did not know her life had become a series of checkboxes. She only felt the result. Doors closing. Voices lowering. Help disappearing. The woman glanced at the time. By the end of the week, she said quietly, she'll leave on her own. She stood, satisfied. Because from where she sat, Amma was no longer a person. She was a situation. And situations, when handled correctly, always resolved themselves. The body knows before the mind admits it. Amma felt it the third night. Her hands shook as she tried to light the stove. Her vision blurred when she stood too quickly. The room felt smaller, tighter, as if the walls were leaning in. She told herself it was nothing. Just hunger. Just exhaustion. Things she had survived before. But this time was different. Hunger used to end at night. Now it waited in the morning. Amma sat on the floor and counted her money again. Once. Twice. She already knew the number. It was not enough for food. Not enough for medicine. Not enough for tomorrow. Her brother sat across from her, legs pulled close to his chest. When will you sell again? He asked quietly. Amma opened her mouth. Nothing came out. She closed it again. I'm figuring it out, she said finally. But the words felt thin. Later that night, the fever came. It didn't arrive loudly. No dramatic collapse. Just a slow burn that made every movement heavy. Amma lay on the mattress. Her skin damp. Her breath shallow. Her brother knelt beside her, unsure what to do. You're hot, he whispered. Amma tried to smile. I'm okay, she said. Her voice cracked. He reached for the cup of water and held it to her lips. She drank slowly. Each swallow an effort. Outside, laughter drifted in from somewhere down the street. Life was continuing. Just not for them. By morning, Amma could not stand. Her legs refused her. She sat against the wall, her head resting on her knees, trying to stay awake. Her brother stood in front of her. I'm hungry, he said. Not complaining. Not accusing. Just stating a fact. Amma closed her eyes. This was the moment she had been avoiding. Not the ban. Not the rumors. This. The moment when she could no longer protect him. Tears came then. Quietly. She wiped them away quickly. Ashamed. I'll find something, she whispered. She forced herself up and stepped outside. The street felt distant, as if she were watching it from behind glass. She walked to a familiar door. Knocked. No answer. Another door. A pause. A voice from inside. We can't help right now. The door did not open. Amma leaned against the wall, her knees trembling. People passed her. Some recognized her. Some pretended not to. No one stopped. When she returned home, empty-handed, her brother looked at her face and understood. He didn't ask again. That was worse. That afternoon, Amma collapsed. Not from drama. From depletion. Her body simply shut down. Her brother sat beside her, terrified. He pressed his forehead against her arm, listening to her breathing, counting each rise and fall. Please, he whispered to no one in particular. Please. Amma drifted in and out of consciousness. In her mind, she saw the basket, the street, the puddle, the splash. She realized something with painful clarity. They were not trying to hurt her. They were trying to wait her out. To starve her quietly. To let the world believe that she had disappeared on her own. That evening, as the light faded, Amma opened her eyes. Her brother was still there. Still waiting. She reached for his hand. I won't give up, she said weakly. She didn't know how. She didn't know when. But she knew one thing. Silence was killing them faster than confrontation ever could. And somewhere, far from the poor street, someone checked a message and smiled. Because the system was working. Amma had reached the breaking point. The knock came after sunset. 3 slow knocks. Not loud. Not urgent. Almost respectful. Amma opened her eyes. For a moment, she thought she was imagining it. Her brother stood up quickly. I'll check, he said. Amma tried to speak. Her throat was dry. The door opened. The man from the street stood there. The silent witness. He looked the same as before. Calm. Unrushed. But his eyes changed when he saw Amma. She's sick, the boy said quietly. The man nodded. I know, he replied. He stepped inside without being invited. Not rude. Just certain. He placed a small bag on the table. Medicine. Bread. Clean water. Not much. Just enough. Amma watched him carefully. Why? She asked weakly. The man met her eyes. Because watching is no longer enough, he said. He waited until she had swallowed the medicine. And her brother had eaten. Only then did he speak again. I know who's doing this, he said. Amma didn't respond. She had heard many things lately. I also know how, he continued. He reached into his bag and pulled out a thin folder. He placed it gently on the floor between them. Inside were papers. Printed emails. Photos taken from a distance. Screenshots of messages. Dates. Times. Names. Amma stared at them. Her heart began to beat faster. This isn't rumor, the man said. This is pattern. Amma looked up. Why are you showing me this? She asked. The man paused. Because it's yours, he said. And because using it will change everything. Amma swallowed. What happens if I do nothing? She asked. The man answered without hesitation. Then nothing changes, he said. You disappear quietly. And the world forgets you were ever here. Amma looked at her brother. He sat silently, holding the empty cup. Watching her face. What happens if I speak? She asked. The man didn't soften his voice. People will question you. They will dig into your life. They will look for reasons not to believe you. Amma closed her eyes. She had spent her whole life trying not to be seen. Now, being seen felt dangerous. I can't protect him, she whispered, nodding toward her brother. If this gets worse. The man leaned forward slightly. You already can't, he said gently. That's why you're here. The room went quiet. Amma felt the weight of the decision settle on her chest. Silence had been her shield. But silence had also brought her here. She opened the folder again. This time, she didn't look away. What do I have to do? She asked. The man exhaled slowly. You stand with the truth, he said. And you let it speak louder than fear. Amma nodded once. Not bravely. Not confidently. But deliberately. That night, after the man left, Amma did not sleep. She sat beside her brother, watching his chest rise and fall. The choice had been made. Not for justice. Not for revenge. But for survival. And once a choice is made, there is no returning to who you were before. The truth did not explode. It leaked. Slowly. Quietly. In places where it could not be ignored. The first call came early in the morning. Amma was sitting on the floor, helping her brother tie his shoes. When her phone vibrated, she stared at the screen for a long moment. Before answering, a calm voice spoke on the other end. We'd like to ask you a few questions, the voice said. About the complaints filed against you. Amma's hand tightened around the phone. Yes, she replied. I'll answer. She didn't raise her voice. She didn't argue. She told the truth. Later that day, someone else called. Then another. Different voices. Same questions. The pattern was being noticed. Across the city, behind closed doors. Documents were opened. Dates compared. Names repeated. Why had so many complaints been filed? By people who never lived near Amma? Why had reports been approved so quickly? Why did the video appear before the paperwork? The questions stacked quietly. In a clean office, a man frowned at his screen. This doesn't add up, he said. Another replied. It adds up too well. Meanwhile, the woman behind the walls sensed a shift. Her phone buzzed more than usual. Messages arrived slower. Shorter. We're being asked questions. Someone is reviewing the files. She dismissed them at first. Systems didn't fail. People did. But then a different message appeared. We need to talk. Her smile faded. Back on the poor street, Amma walked outside for the first time in days. She didn't carry a basket. She didn't know if she ever would again. People watched her. Not with suspicion. With curiosity. A neighbor approached hesitantly. I heard, they're checking the reports, the woman said. Amma nodded. That's what they told me. The neighbor hesitated. I'm sorry, she said quietly. I believed what they said. Amma did not answer immediately. I understand, she replied at last. That evening, a story appeared online. Not sensational. Not dramatic. Just facts. Screenshots. Timelines. Connections. No insults. No opinions. Just evidence. People began to read. And then to reread. The comments change. This doesn't look right. Why was she targeted? Who filed all these reports? The woman behind the walls watched the screen. Her name hadn't appeared yet. But the ground beneath her felt unstable. She made a call. No answer. She tried again. The silence was unfamiliar. Uncomfortable. Amma sat with her brother that night, listening to the street outside. For the first time in weeks, the whispers were not about her. They were about something else. Something higher. Something closer to the truth. Amma didn't feel victory. Only a strange calm. Because she understood now. The truth didn't need her to shout. It only needed space. And once it had that, it began to move on its own. Amma did not plan a speech. She did not write anything down. When they asked her to speak, she hesitated. Not because she was afraid, but because she did not want to become someone else. She stood in a small room. No stage. No spotlight. Just a table. A few chairs. And people waiting to hear what she would say. Her hands rested calmly in front of her. She took a breath. I don't want anyone punished, she began. The room grew still. I don't want revenge, she continued. I don't want apologies forced by pressure. She paused. I want something simpler. She looked around. I want to be allowed to live. Without being pushed out of sight. Some people shifted in their seats. Amma went on. I sold food on the street because it was honest work. Not because I wanted attention. Not because I wanted to challenge anyone. She swallowed. When the video spread, people laughed. Then they believed things about me. Without asking if they were true. She didn't raise her voice. She didn't accuse. She spoke slowly. As if choosing each word carefully. I was banned. I was isolated. My brother was shamed. Her hand tightened briefly. Then relaxed. I am not special, she said. And that's the point. She looked directly at the people listening. If this can happen to me, it can happen to anyone. Who doesn't have power to push back? Silence filled the room. Amma nodded once. That is all. She stepped back. No applause came at first. Then someone stood. Then another. Not clapping loudly. Just standing. Outside, the story traveled again. But this time, it moved differently. No mocking captions. No cruel edits. People shared her words. Not because they were dramatic. But because they were true. Back behind the walls. The woman read the statement. She expected anger. She expected attacks. Instead, she found something worse. Calm. The system she trusted had stopped protecting her. Not because Amma demanded it. But because Amma no longer needed to. That evening, Amma walked home. The street felt familiar again. Not friendly. Not warm. But open. She sat beside her brother. "We're okay now," he said quietly. Amma smiled. "Yes," she replied. "We are." Not because she had won, but because she had not become what they tried to turn her into. Justice had arrived. Not loudly, but firmly. Morning returned to the street. Not brighter. Not quieter. Just familiar. Amma stepped outside with her basket. Not the old one. A simple replacement. Nothing special. She placed it carefully in the same spot, where she had stood for years. The street did not pause. People walked past. Cars moved on. Life did not stop for justice. And that was okay. A man approached. "Are you selling again?" he asked. Amma nodded. "Yes," she replied. He smiled faintly and bought something. Then another person came. And another. No cameras. No whispers. Just transactions. Just people. Amma's brother sat nearby, doing homework on the steps. He looked up at her and smiled. Not because things were perfect, but because they were possible again. Later that day, Amma packed up and walked home. The same narrow street. The same walls. But something inside her had shifted. She no longer walked as if she needed permission. That evening, she cooked dinner slowly. They ate together. In silence. A comfortable one. Amma lay down that night and listened to the city. It sounded the same. But she was not. She understood now. That dignity did not come from being spared harm. It came from standing up. When harm tried to erase you, the world had not changed for her. She had changed within it. And that was enough. She was never meant to disappear. She was meant to remain. What happened to Amma was not just about poverty. It was about power. Not the kind you see, but the kind that decides who is allowed to stay and who must disappear quietly. Amma was not attacked with fists. She was attacked with rules, with rumors, with silence. And that is how many people are erased in the real world. Not loudly, not violently, but slowly. This story reminds us of something important. Poverty does not make someone less human. Silence does not mean guilt. And dignity does not come from being spared harm. It comes from standing up. When harm tries to erase you. Amma did not win because she became powerful. She won because she refused to disappear. She did not seek revenge. She chose truth. And sometimes, that is the strongest choice of all. So if you ever see someone being pushed out, laughed at, or quietly removed, remember this story. Because the world does not change when the powerful are comfortable. It changes when ordinary people refuse to vanish. Amma was not attacked with fists. She was attacked with rules, with rumors, with silence. This is how many people disappear in the real world. Not because they did something wrong, but because someone powerful decided they were inconvenient. Amma did not win by becoming rich. She won by refusing to disappear. Society doesn't separate people by wealth alone, but by who is allowed to stand where, who is allowed to be seen, and who can be erased, legally.